Oh man, it feels so good to be back. Welcome everybody to Crypto's News. Thank you so much for joining me here today. It's such a treat to be able to go around, see what's happening in crypto, collect that information, and give you a nice 30-minute video around there where you get pretty much summed up with what's happening, what are people talking about, what should we be expecting, and what's happened to keep you on top of things. So welcome back. Remember to hit like if you enjoy the video, subscribe if you're new to the show, share the videos. That'd be a huge help. So we can get back up to a good high subscriber count like we once had here. I remember early on, I was just hardcore like about marketing my videos on Reddit, on Facebook groups like nuts, Instagram. But I'll admit, it's a little bit... It feels like such a battle to try to do all that again that most times I'm just like, I really hope the community can help me out here. So if you guys can do that, would be much appreciated. But either way, thank you so much for joining the stream here. Thanks, Kyle. He said that the tagline for the show should be the best news in crypto. Thanks, man. That means a lot. Azam, let's go. Actually, I started the show right when you wrote that because I was like, okay, it's time to get going. Let's do this. So thanks, Azam, for the support on YouTube, for being a sponsor. And those the rest of you who also sponsor the show. And Gortrabot, who always shows up and comments. Thank you so much, Gortrabot. So I've collected some things as we start off the week. I hope you had a fantastic weekend. Let's go indeed. So when we're looking at the prices, Bitcoin, as it says in the title, absolutely relentless. Some might have expected that after the weekend price action, which was, I guess you could say, mostly sideways, it is not letting up. Bitcoin, again, just right before I went live, breaking $23,000. It's actually at $23,007. It's up 2.7% over the last 24 hours. Ethereum was slightly in the negative to start the day, but it is now picked up. It's actually up 1.6% over the last 24 hours at $1,636.71. And the overall market caps for crypto still over $1 trillion at $1,088,000-ish billion, rounding up dollars. Bitcoin dominance still high at 40.8%. Ethereum catching up. Wow, 18.1%. That's phenomenal. Almost half the dominance that Bitcoin has in this market. Not too surprising considering it is the progenitor of ICOs, NFT, so many different movements. That's really opened the floodgates for most people to get involved in crypto. Think about novel ways to use cryptocurrencies and opening up the Pandora's box really of coins here. So many different blockchains now that enable that to happen, but still so many are still tethered to Ethereum. And I think that's a lot of what's driven that. Beyond other things, I think is going to rip people's faces, of course. I just always have these fascinations, which are not so out of reach, where I think about the demand that could really happen for things like Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I picked those because they're more limited relative to other things. Although I know that Litecoin is limited, has 4 times the amount that Bitcoin has. You have Zcash, quite limited. I believe they're going to be moving to proof of stake very soon as well. So you have these other coins that are very limited. Monero, quite limited as well. And but I do like to focus, I think, on Bitcoin and Ethereum more on this show. I know there are others, is my point. But when real demand happens, you know, we got like a taste of it. You have millionaires and some billionaires now getting some exposure to it. But I think the big funds in the world have yet to really get serious about this. And when that happens, I think it's going to be such an explosion with the amount of money that's awash in the world that it's going to make the prices that we've seen already stupefying. We're going to look down from stupefying heights and be like, expected this might happen, but really didn't believe it. It's kind of like 2017. I had been expecting back when ETH was like $10 for it to balloon higher, right? And it way surpassed my dreams. And I think we're still in the beginning of this, as this fiat experiment with money is nearing its conclusion. I think on a financial level, money printing is about to have its solution here, thanks to Lord Satoshi and what he spawns. But anyway, the part of what's driving movements right now, and you're seeing movements not just into cryptocurrencies, but also into stocks, is expectations the Federal Reserve is probably nearing the end of their rate hiking cycle. So first of all, as it says here in this article here on the Wall Street Journal, in this next meeting with the Federal Reserve, the Federal Open Market Committee, it's expected that they're going to lower the pace at which they hike rates even more. So they were doing 75 basis points for 4 consecutive meetings, right? Until they stepped down to 50 basis points, or 0.5 of a point in December. And now it's expected they're going to lower that to 25 basis points. So half of even where we're at right now, as basically you're hearing statements from like Fed Vice Chair Lael Brainerd talking about how the logic still is applicable today of how the Federal Reserve should probably be lowering the pace at which they hike rates, because it takes a while for their rate hikes to show up. Whoa, that's a big spider. Man, Texas spiders, dude. It's like the second time in the show. What's up, dude? On my monitor. It's crawling across. Kind of creepy. Should take care of him, but I'll probably just wait. Anyway, distraction. He's right smack there on top of my monitor. What's up, bro? Anyway, so 25 basis points. See, get out of there. Get rid of it. L lives here too. It's not that big, but it was just kind of surprising. I will take care of it. I'm keeping tabs on where it goes. Hopefully he's behind the monitor now. better move my headphones. That would be weird. Sorry about that, guys. So it basically takes a while before you feel the effects of what they've done. So they should probably lower the pace before they break something, I'd imagine, is what they're going to be doing. But this is expected also to be the end of Fed hikes, actually, because the market perhaps has been pricing in the end of the hiking to be when the rate reaches between 5% and 5.25%. And right now we are looking to bring, well, right now we're at 4.25 percentage points. This would be the ultimate end of it, 5.25%. So if they raise in the next meeting 0.25, they're going to take us to 4.5 to 4.75%. In a nutshell, this means that we should expect, based on what the market is looking at, probably not going to be right, but could be right, basically 2 more rate hikes after the next one. before they even reverse course, perhaps, if not stop hiking altogether. So this could be what's driving capital back into risky assets, maybe back into crypto, although I'm not entirely sure about that. Crypto, I think, should be going up whether they rise or not, ultimately, in this monetary experiment. But this could be part of what's going on here. If you would like to check out this information for yourself, you can go to CME Fed Watch Tool and excuse me, jeez, the next FOMC meeting is going to be in 8 days, 21 hours, 29 minutes. This is a cool tool where you can keep track of where bets are for where the rate hikes are going to be going. So you can see here, there's a 99.9% chance that it's going to be a 25 basis point hike at this next meeting, according to this metric right here. So pretty much like guaranteed, since the Fed said that they don't like to surprise markets very much. I see them again. They don't like to surprise markets, so they like to do what markets most expect. So 99% chance, 25 basis point hike, pretty much in the cards, and that's perhaps what's driving things higher right now. So I also pulled this up. I don't know what it means, but Will Clemente put this up on Twitter. It's a resistance line show of the S&P 500 index just dropping since 2022 prices and hitting that at the peak. Looks like it's breaking that right now, and so the trend could be breaking to the upside, is what this is pointing at. Also, this is on Fox News. The Democrats are pushing to eliminate the debt ceiling to allow unlimited government borrowing. So apparently, there's this new bill called the End the Threat of Default Act, and it's co-sponsored by 42 House Democrats. The Democrats have said weaponizing the debt ceiling, as is often done by either political party here, weaponizing the debt ceiling and using it as a pawn in partisan budget negotiations is dangerous and repeatedly brings our nation to the brink of default, which would be disastrous to the U.S. economy, something we've witnessed as recently as 2011 when Republicans created a debt ceiling crisis that resulted in the first ever downgrade to the U.S. credit rating. So I think it makes sense in a way. It's a joke. The debt ceiling, anyway, it constantly gets raised, and it's used for either side to get something that they want, a bargaining chip. It's more of a political tool than anything. It's a joke to think that it will actually stop the government spending or not printing more money. They further added, the government has an obligation to pay its bills. Threatening to default on our debt is the same as ordering an expensive meal at a restaurant, eating it, and skipping out without paying. Dining and dashing, as they called it when I was a youth. We can and should have a real conversation about overall spending, but the full faith and credit of the United States must never be compromised. It cannot be compromised. Yeah, something being talked about, and this is again good. Let's stop the joke of thinking that there is an end to the debt that can be taken on and spent. It's all a joke, right? Eventually, Bitcoin will be there for all of us and absorb all of this. But yeah, I mean, I doubt this will actually pass. Just wanted to pass it forward as it is something being talked about a lot in different circles, especially crypto circles today. Of course, to make sure you know what's up. This was an interesting post here about 9 hours ago that was put up on the cryptocurrency subreddit. It is by Party MSL. It's titled, "A significant amount of capital is flowing from stable coins back into Bitcoin right now. This has usually been a pattern for a reversal and a prolonged rally." One of the things that happens during bear markets is that a pretty big percentage of the capital in the crypto market does not flow completely out of it, but into stable coins. So not into fiat, but into stable coins. Instead, as people think it's safer to reallocate assets until the bear market is over and then get back, which makes sense as stable coins mostly will hold the value of your money, and afterwards you will be able to enter the market at way lower prices. Unless you're in that Terra Luna stuff, then your stable coin might disappear altogether. This had also happened this time, just after the top in November. We saw the stablecoin dominance massively rising, and this time there was an even bigger rise to the ongoing stablecoin wars. But now the capital seems to be rotating back into Bitcoin, at least starting to do so after over 13 months of stablecoin dominance. This is the SSR oscillator, or the stablecoin supply ratio oscillator, that measures the capital rotating between stablecoins and Bitcoin during bull and bear markets. As we can see, we are having the capital flow back into Bitcoin right now. And the last time this happened, it was a sign for a reversal and a bit more prolonged price rally. It happened during the start of the 2021 bull run, during the reversal from bear to bull in 2018, and even during the second top of 69K in 2021. Now, this metric does not exactly mean that we will be back to a bull market, because as we can see in 2018, the reversal meant just a smaller bull market, and in late 2021, it also just meant a smaller rally to a new all-time high. But according to this metric, it does seem clear that we will possibly have a decent rally going forward. So this is the screenshot that they showed. They pulled this off of Glassnode. You can sign up for Glassnode if you want to get a better look at this oscillator or other different metrics and blockchain analytics for yourself. I believe they also have something like a 7-day trial if you'd want to check that out for yourself, but usually it is pay it to check this out. So you can see it right here, the stablecoin supply ratio oscillator. So you can see when it's green, capital is flowing into Bitcoin. You can see the dates along the bottom. When it's red, capital is flowing more into stablecoins based on this ratio. It looks at all sorts of things. It looks at different stablecoins like USDC. It looks at, I believe, Binance USD, USDT. So it's not just one stablecoin, many different stablecoins. You can see the Bitcoin price on the left. You can also see the Bitcoin price in the gray here, and you can see the ratio numbers on the right, the current value at 1.73, it says here, as it flips back into mostly stable coins, pouring back into Bitcoin, the rotation that direction. So it could signify that you have money that's easily put back into crypto because it's already in stable coins, sitting on the sidelines and ready to dive back in, finally doing so, as it hasn't been doing pretty much all of 2022. I would actually argue against this a little bit and say this is not a guarantee, as it seems to imply that we should expect a rally based on this. In fact, you look at some of these points where it's gone green, the oscillator, and if you bought back in at that point expecting that we were going to continue to go up, there was actually significant downside that took place, and you might have gotten scared and sold at those points. So I would not really trade too much into this, but it is another metric to be looking at and could play a role here, and it's at least something you should probably know about in crypto, since crypto has basically created so many different metrics to look at. Actually, before I show you that, let me show you this. So Willy Woo was the gentleman who created that. He created the this oscillator. He's someone who's quite popular, over 1 million followers on Twitter, and he's the one who created the stablecoin supply ratio oscillator. He had this to say on January 16th in relation to some of the bullish price movement that we've been having. I love that we've been having so far. Anyway, he wrote, CBD Floor, circa 2019, successfully defended for 2 months straight, and the first proper test apart from COVID where the crash got close. So CVDD does not mean COVID. It actually means the cumulative value days destroyed. As written here by Willy Woo on his website, CVDD has historically picked the bottom of the market. It works off of the theory that when significantly old coins, say bought at $10, pass to new investors, say at $10,000, the market perceives a higher floor. So he wrote, hope this is not famous last words. Spot momentum has been strong throughout this move. There was also a strong accumulation for months at 16K. Cost basis comparison suggests the bottom has formed. The peak discount that short-term purchases got over long-term purchases has crested. This actually looks of the bear market that you see short-term coins get cheaper than long-term coins. So this one I think is pretty striking. There is another one as well. The BTC macro index, pretty safe time to buy, it's trying to imply. Look at the vertical halvening bands. We are now around 1 month away from the period where the reaccumulation phase of the market starts engaging, and this line at the bottom starts moving up. So yeah, Hero, on the matter of trolls, they peak. So trolls on social media, elsewhere, they peak mid-bear market. These are the guys that go bitter, abscond responsibility for their bags, and take to toxicity on Twitter. By the end of the bears, post-capitulation, they disappear. I've noticed they've mainly disappeared. And just like I had pointed out recently in a video, he also suspects that what I was suspecting is also what he's suspecting, that we are in the disbelief phase of the Wall Street cheat sheet cycle. Way here at the beginning before, actually this would be peak opportunity time to get in, where we're getting the signals. Right before hope, a recovery is possible, optimism, this rally is real, belief, time to get fully invested, thrill, I will buy more on margin, like Michael Saylor has been recommended near the top right. Sell your house for Bitcoin. It's the only thing that makes sense. Take the equity. Gotta tell everyone to buy. Euphoria, I'm a genius. We're all going to be rich. New paradigm. This is it. Anyway, probably early times in this bull run. There is a suspicion that it was manipulated up to $21,000 Bitcoin. I was reading a little bit about that. There was an account that was pointing out BUSD, Binance stablecoin, that was being used to bid things up almost artificially. But the fact is now, since we hit $21,000, even if that were true, the price has continued to rally to even $23,000. So if anything, it catalyzed this run. Doesn't really matter too much because the herd seems to have taken control of it anyway since then, if you do believe some of that conjecture, which I'm not sure I fully buy yet. Everyone wants to give a reason for why it suddenly started jumping high. But be careful out there if you are trying to buy in the short term. I'm going to go ahead and put this up here. This is from GMX, one of the more decentralized and better of leverage exchanges that exist out there. So GMX, you can see, and it's quite popular. It has a lot of volume. You can see the long positions here versus the short positions, and the long positions way outnumber right now the short positions. There's been a lot of liquidation that's happened. Likely that's part of the reason here, but there is more money to be made if the price drops in the short term because longs get liquidated and cascade down. So this would be a good time for the price to dump, right? So just be very, very careful. I don't think that this is going to invalidate everything that's happened recently by a long shot, but it just seems that there might be more opportunity here. Not necessarily that the price has to drop here. I do want to point that out. Anyway, Will Clemente also had this to share. Higher high regardless, higher low. We have already hit a higher high than the previous ones. A signal that we have bottomed out. This is what I was looking at, and I was presenting to you guys leading up to the tightening of bands that I was looking at to see if we went down in a major way or we went up in a major way after some of these big pennants that had formed. And in fact, we broke to the upside. We did have a higher low, and I was saying this is pretty much the beginning, as it says, of the end, right? The end of the bear market. This will be a bottom, not necessarily the beginning of a bull market, but it looks like the bull market wants to start right away because we're also getting a higher high in addition to just a higher low. So that is something to note as well, and is bullish, I would say, for the longer term, besides whatever price movements we see right now. Unless, of course, we do somehow get a new higher low, which would be the biggest, in fact, trap of all time. And those who believe that would be right. I just feel like that's unlikely. More and more I'm seeing bears like, okay, so maybe it does continue to rally. Even Peter Schiff in his recent podcast was like, okay, maybe Bitcoin can hit 30K when previously he didn't even think it was going to pass $20,000. The big gold guy who more and more I think is just wrong on so much. I realize now he really just does only care about his bags, right? His funds for international stocks and his gold. He doesn't seem to be objective very much at all, which is a shame because I think Peter's mind is quite great. And if he used it more objectively and less for personal gain, I think the world would benefit and he would probably benefit more. But it's a shame that he chooses to go down the route that he does. So I think I listened to his podcast less than I used to, but at least he taught me so much. And maybe he'll teach other people as well what certain things mean. It's a shame someone so good at looking at economic data chooses to use his powers so selfishly, in my opinion. But whatever. Anyway, Gemini, you'd be up like 35% if you sold when Peter Schiff recently was telling people to sell. It was never going to go back up. Anyway, Gemini is laying off 10% of the staff, it seems. So the layest company, you had Google laying off 12,000 of their staff last week. You had Microsoft laying off 11,000 of their staff. You had Coinbase laying off staff. So many, so not too much of a surprise. Consensus, we talked about that in the last video. And now Gemini, 10%. There you go, guys. What are my thoughts on AI crypto tokens? The only one that I'm really aware of is SingularityNet, and that's from back in the day. I haven't seen anything that seems structured yet for complete success. I don't know what it would look like to make something that's super profitable and demanded for AI consumption, right? I don't know, like OpenAI or ChatGPT recently went into a model where they still like have premium for calls unless there's a lot of demand, but you have to pay something like over $40 a month if you do want demand to their API and so on at all times. I think right now they are looking to monetize, but they're going the fiat route. I don't know where it would look like in a completely crypto world, but right now that's really, you're still seeing fiat the main thing to be accepted for the most part. Until they're accepting crypto for these kinds of services, I can't really imagine what these models would look like. And then I think that things will be so different. Like money will eventually not even matter because the price of these things will come down to basically zero. So I don't know how you monetize around this at all. When I imagine it's going to get dirt cheap, if not free, for pretty much everybody to use, like search engines these days. Nobody really wants to use a token every single time you search for something. So the demand has to come from something else. I don't know if you've done some thinking or you've seen some interesting projects. I'll be super interested to hear about that below in the comments. Does anybody know anything like that? Please help us out here. And it would be cool to talk about something like that in the show. But one token that I was going to mention, which looks, well, I don't know how much demand there's going to be for this token either, but it is giving new life to perhaps Loopring, showing that Loopring hasn't given up here when it comes to their ZK rollup model that they have, which, as they mentioned, can have cost reduction for transactions over Ethereum on their side chain, I guess you could call it, of 1/100th the price, meaning you can do things a lot cheaper, potentially even faster, right? And they're going to be onboarding more and more projects. One of the projects that they're announcing a partnership with today is Protocol Gemini. So it's not the same as a Gemini is laying off 10% of its staff. It's some other project that is trying to do things with blockchain, augmented reality, metaverses, all that we hear all the time. But they do have this project right here that looks interesting, right? Which is allowing you to take pictures, earn tokens of different real-world locations that might be useful in games that are built over this platform. For example, you can take a park bench and anchor a beautiful piece of music. Then you can drive people somewhere else in the local area to get another clue and create these real-world geocache type puzzles or whatever you can envision over these real world geography using GPS. So there's still phase one. They have a token again called gems that you can earn doing this. They have an NFT here that they're selling to raise money for this. That's going to be for governance, this token and everything else. So I don't say that this is necessarily the greatest buy of all time or that I'm going to be buying it or anything like that. I just like to present black paper, different things that look like unique ideas here or ideas that could inspire other ideas. But there's so much yet to be explored with the blockchain, and I imagine with even AI, which I think could be fascinating. And I like to see these different explorations. I'm not one to be completely closed-minded and say this isn't going to succeed, but I think it is difficult to get people to want to walk around and to get people to want to do certain things. So I like to think about valuations in those terms. How much of a percentage of humanity will be using this, just like with virtual reality, where there's so much friction in just getting your headset out and putting it on. The proposition isn't yet there, but through explorations like this, we get closer to innovating in the direction that will be most adopted. I'm not seeing it yet, but I'm still keeping tabs is my point. Anyway, there is suspicions that there is front running going on Binance in regards to Binance listing different assets. An entity or multiple entities have made a lot of money based on these listings. Because as we know, when assets are listed on different exchanges, they tend to pump and dump in a massive way. So if you were able to know what token was going to be listed and you bought it beforehand, you could have made a lot of money. There were some executives at Coinbase, or an executive at Coinbase and his brother rather, who were recently charged on insider trading charges. I believe that gentleman has been sentenced to something like 10 months in prison for front running some of these trades where he made like over $1 million, around $1 million with his brother. You basically tell his brother, hey, yo, this is going to be listed on Coinbase. Buy, right? It looks like this was going on Binance, according to this account, Connor, as well, over 18 plus months. He found some wallets which did not do great OPSEC, did not try to hide some of these transactions very much. But he found connected wallets that bought Rary, this token, $900,000 worth of it seconds before it was listed and dumped minutes after the listing. 78,000 ERN tokens between June 17th and June 21, right after, and sold basically after the listing announcement. Did the same thing with Tornado token, Torn. So they bought, I mean, he's looking at all sorts of different coins that this went on with. Ramp token. It's not coincidence when you have something like a token that's about to be listed, bought in huge amounts, and dumped right after. There's no way that's a coincidence. So he has noted that does seem to be this kind of insider trading, perhaps coming from Binance themselves for like non-public information. This asset is going to be listed, create the page that's going to have information about this token that's going to be listed. You know about that. You're on the team. You do some of this insider trading beforehand, profit, right? It could be perhaps a trader who managed to exploit some API or some sort of test trade exchange leak. We don't know necessarily that it is somebody at Binance, is my point. It could be someone who was able to figure out how to get access to the API that was already being set up, because Binance has said that they are strictly against this kind of insider trading. But there is some funny business that appears to go on before these asset listings. And that means that if something does get listed on Binance and you're holding that token, you were really hoping for it to get listed on Binance, somebody probably knows before you do, and they're going to dump on your face. So it is not really a good look for Binance at all, I would say, and likely something that could be under criminal prosecutions coming up very soon, now that they're going after this sort of thing, especially now that Connor has elucidated it. So wanted to give you a heads up about that. Connor does work at Coinbase. He's a director at Coinbase, as he wrote here. It's pretty much his hobby to follow this stuff. So he's not just a nobody who doesn't care about blockchain or others. He does this just for fun. He said, I work at CB, but look into blockchain data as a hobby. This type of stuff is unrelated to my job. I'm not accusing Binance of anything here. From what I know, they have a very strong corporate policy against insider and employee trading. So there you have it, folks. That's pretty much everything that's being talked about right now. Now, this spider man that is in the corner of my monitor watching the video, I have to figure out what to do with him, but I've been watching him watching me, and hopefully he's enjoyed the show just as much. Maybe I can just get him outside somehow, as much as hopefully we all enjoyed the show. Take care, everyone. Much love, and I'll finish with the quote of the day. The best way to predict the future is to invent it, by Alan Kay. Thanks, Satoshi. Stay cryptic, everyone. Peace.